So today we're going to be listening to another rspace. It's quite an interesting story because he has an issue that I think most guys would think would be a plus, but it turns out not to be his
Why did it stop?
thing that's helping his relationship out. So, about to take a listen to
It
this.
stopped and posed. Look.
Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out of this world story from our space. Remember that your best self does not always mean winning. All areas of your life can't turn out the way you want to. That's simply not how life works. Instead, it's about acknowledging that
And that's so true. The thing about
You should
life is a lot of times we go around and try to be somebody we're not. We live up to a certain societal standard, so
You just gotta get in the
we
line.
kind of orchestrate our life around that. And I feel like as a man, especially being a red pill guy, self definition is the key. As long as you define who you are, the rest of the things in life, criticisms, social standards and stuff doesn't necessarily apply to you because you define who you are, not nobody else. Even though other people's perception of you do mean something, but 75% of your being need to be how you define yourself. And that will help out with a lot of the mental illness part of life we go through. At least in my opinion.
being your best self means showing up to face each challenge.
See the way he
Today on our space, we find the inspiration to be our best selves. Our first OP fights some self destructive behavior despite his world falling apart. Girlfriend admitted over wine she has been cheating because we can't have sex.
Wow. She told him over wine. I guess that made it better, right? But girlfriend admitted over wine she has been cheating because we can't have sex. I wonder if this is a problem that came up before marriage. I know a lot of people tend to marry anyway with problems such as finances, infidelities, lack of intimacy, and those are those three things need to be ironed out before you walk down that aisle, in my opinion. But let's continue.
I mean, like the title says, she's been getting railed for the last 12 years. I'll start off and say she said as her reason was because, and I'm not bragging, it's just relevant to the story, that because I'm well endowed we can't have sex unless she's pissed drunk. That's not fun at all, so I simply push for foreplay to at least please her, and make sure that there's the option to try if she wants to. Now I know in full detail in tapes she made where she went to get her satisfaction. It's just effing crushing because on one hand,
So, like I said earlier, it's a problem you would think that wouldn't be a problem, but it obviously is in their relationship. And that's another thing, like I said earlier, did y'all, well, obviously they had these problems before. So it's like you went into it, you walked down the aisle knowing that you had this problem. But, I mean, I understand, but as you get older, you understand what's gonna work and what's not. And he should have known that wasn't gonna work. So I think that he was he was creating his own issues in his marriage, an issue that was never gonna change. So you always have to blame the man first, in my opinion, because I just feel like we have to have the foresight to understand what's gonna happen before it happens. And I don't mean like on no psychic type thing. I'm just saying that we need to have the mental capacity to see certain things coming before we make these very, very semi-permanent decisions, because they make it so easy to get into a marriage, but they make it really hard to get out. So you definitely got to think about those things, in my opinion.
I want to forgive her so bad, but on the other, I do care about my dignity. I feel like I'm letting the guys she cheated on me with win no matter the choice I make, but I just want to be happy. To be able to have peace and not be next to her wanting to cry because it's no use literally talking to her whatsoever. I tried just now to engage her in conversation and went on a mouth-drying conversation pouring my heart out to her about why I feel betrayed, but I also understand I simply wish she could have come to me sooner, and I would have been happy to try something different, maybe like swingers.
So his solution to the thing was to try swingers. Well, that's one thing, right? The fact of the matter that he wants to, try to talk out of the situation, try to understand her side of it more. So you're seeing that this whole situation has been about her happiness. And that ultimately, that's the reason why they got married. He felt like that was going to make her happy, I can imagine. Whenever your solution is something that you're not even okay with, like swingers, like he already said he doesn't like he couldn't imagine other men messing with her. That's not a lifestyle that's conducive to your mindset. So I don't think that's a great idea. It's not a solution. The solution at this point would be figuring out your exit strategy. I don't see much more that he could do, because as the story go on, you're gonna see why it was pretty much set in stone the second he found out.
The thought of having to share her, though, destroys me inside, like stepping on hot coal. So I kind of lightly pushed after to get an answer to something at least, and I might as well have been talking to the wall. She swears up and down she loves me with all her heart and soul, and I do believe her, but she just wants to basically act like nothing happened and just move on. When I argue back it's not that simple, and that my feelings matter, then it's she's done talking to me, that I don't care about our family. She will take the kids and leave, etc. The usual threats either side would use, but still below the belt. I don't want to throw it away, but...
So you're seeing a level of narcissism from the woman. She's not really accepting the responsibility of the situation. She's basically cheated on him and now giving him an ultimatum to forgive her. How ultimatums are a double-edged sword. Sometimes they're very necessary to get a conversation at least started. It's almost 100% of the time an ultimatum's gonna not go your way initially, because it's just human nature to push back on stuff like that, especially if you're a man. Whether you're a beta or alpha, it doesn't matter. You give somebody an ultimatum, back them in the corner. I feel like it's human nature to fight out of that, or not be cooperative at the very least. And you're seeing that right now.
He just wasn't expecting me to do it.
I also can't effing sleep, or get these thoughts of them effing out of my head. Moving on would mean not seeing the kids as often. But it is also sparing them the terrible environment it creates when a parent is simply staying only for that reason. They see how miserable it is, and our constant bickering when we are alone in our room. We never argue in front of them. So is it wrong because of how betrayed I feel and done that I want to move on and see someone right away if it happens? I'm just baffled she wants to not pretend she threw 12 years down the drain. I have been drinking and English is not my first language, so I apologize for mistakes in writing. Thank you for the advice. Edit. Thank you everyone for the overwhelming responses, whether positive or negative. I'm starting to sort through everyone's comments and will keep responding to questions or statements.
Why the time stop?
So you see him at the end
He forgot.
trying to maneuver his life in this chaotic situation, and all he can come up with is just as chaotic responses to it. And I feel like a lot of these rspace stories are people that been with this person for the last 10 years through their, early 20s. He's probably in his 30s. I can't remember his age or anything like that, but at my estimation, he's probably in his early 30s, and this is his first time going through this. Certain people have went through this as early as high school, mid 20s, early 20s, where they thought they was going to be with this person for a lifetime. I can imagine, and their heart get broken. It's a infidelity situation. A lot of trust issues come from those type of things, and a lot of understanding of life come from those things. And he seems like somebody that's just going through this at this point, where somebody like really cared for him, and he had to deal with the infidelity. He's basically going to be prepared for his next serious relationship, because a lot of times you look at the woman differently. You don't put them on that same pedestal that you did beforehand, because you understand the other side. So it's a good thing, especially when we're talking about Babylon, right? So yeah, let's see how the update is.
I have decided to retain a lawyer who is doing it on Monday to start the process of filing for divorce and do the DNA test. DNA outcome, obviously, I'm so scared for, because will I change towards my children if it's the outcome I'm pretty certain it is? It's not their fault, but the relationship is already established. And how the hell do you deal with not being the parent, and what happens after?
So he has a situation now where not sure how old his kids were. I mean, you could spend 10 years, raising this kid to come to find out that he's not your biological kid. And I'm not one of the people that's under that thought process that they're still your kids, they're still this, that, and the other. I feel like that's a very individual thing. I don't think every man's gonna feel like, well, you know, it being the child being their blood is a big thing for a lot of men, and I think there's a lot of men that would probably have to make a tough decision like that. So I think the thought process he's going through is very, very, very normal. If you have a situation where your kids can't be, it might not be yours. Wow, I would hate for anybody to have to go through that, really.
I promise to update this with results. Before that update, let's get some community reaction, shall we? 7 Samurai 1954 AK says, 12 years, cheating on you. 12 years, lying to you. 12 years, being deceitful. 12 years, having fun with others. 12 years, letting you dry because your junk is too big. 12 years, being a fake wife. 12 years, and your child probably isn't yours. Your father is not getting the 12 years thing, but it's not him being cheated on for 12 years. 12 years later.
So bad this year. You see how long that took? Wow, that comment is definitely spot on, man. When you start breaking it down, like nigga, that's 12 years. That's not like when you look back 12 years ago at any point in your life, you're so drastically different. So there's no getting that back. It's something as an adult that's so profound, that especially you somebody like me, a normal person, you go to work 8 hours a day, then you have to eat, you have to bathe, you have to do all these necessities, and after you done all that, you might have a couple of hours of time, unless you're somebody that stays up late like myself. I have to get my time of my free time on the back end, but I pay for it with my sleep. So it's like you understand time so much as you get older, because I can remember being in my 20s and just thinking I got all fucking day. But that's not the case. So when I look at that and having to maneuver my free time, maneuver all those things for 12 years, then just to find out my children's not mine, or at the very least, getting a divorce after all that. That's that's unacceptable.
Divorce her and get a deserving girl. Did I mention 12 effing years? Hush Angel says, your girlfriend didn't cheat because you couldn't have sex. She cheated because she chose to cheat. Nothing you could have done would have caused her to or prevented her from choosing to cheat on you. There's absolutely no excuse, and her decision is fully her responsibility. You are not at fault here. Only she is. Belf17 chimes in, okay, listen, first, stop drinking. It's going to make you feel like crap and make things worse. Second, divorce. Go find a good lawyer and divorce.
It's easy for somebody to tell you to not drink something in a situation like this. I would tell the brother, listen, don't bask in the bottle, but hey man, do what you got to do to get your mind right. Just understand that you know what you can get into hitting the bottle too much. He's a grown ass man. He can make that decision, I can imagine.
Sorry, but as you said, your kids will be happier with divorced parents. So lawyer, divorce, low contact, nothing except the kid stuff. Move on, go on dates, and next time you find a girl but she can't have sex with you, then move on to the next. OP replies, it's so true. Gutting when you reflect on...
That was some pretty good advice. I think that women outnumber us by a lot. I think there's certain women that goes for certain endowments, I can imagine. So I don't think he'll have a problem moving on. I think he's going to have good problems moving on. Something I like to call when you have something different going on about yourself. But yeah, I mean, if you look at it differently, matter of fact, I'm gonna let the story play a little more.
The fact that it's 12 years down the drain. I can't stop thinking about the kids though. My parents keep pushing me to stay no matter what. To the point my dad has been calling me a dumbass for wanting to leave because she is willing to change and the kids deserve a strong father, not a weak one who can't handle the bumps along the road. What a way to compare that to what his daughter did to me and our kids.
Well, look, it's easy for anybody to speak on those type of things, right? And there's an old saying, don't judge a man until you walk a day in their shoes. So, I would brush that off. That's the thing about what I was saying earlier. It's very important to define yourself, because if you're vulnerable and you're weak-minded, things like that can really sway your opinion one way or another. So, yeah.
BS Take 2 thinks, your dad is behaving like an idiot. He doesn't have to live your life, so he doesn't get a say. I can tell you, even if you argue away from the kids, they still know. There's a toxic vibe that hangs in the air, and you can't hide that. 6 months out, and my kid is way happier, more outgoing and more open with me than he has been in many years. Being a strong father is standing up for yourself, having boundaries and sticking to them, knowing when to take your kids out of a toxic situation. It's tough leaving in the beginning, man, but it gets better over time. So what that your cheater is willing to stay? That's not the point. She shouldn't have stayed. She should have talked through the issue and left you 12 years ago. Instead, she chose to lie, manipulate you, and cheat for the last 12 years.
That's crazy. Just to have the audacity to say, well, she's deciding to stay. Wow. This is why you gotta make sure that you have your anger and your temper under control, especially before you even start dating. Because if you don't, if you off a little bit and somebody say that to you, shit.
F that noise, you owe her nothing. Badger Brush 20 thinks, you don't need her for a test. Buy a pharmacy DNA test, get your daughter, and find out results. Talk to a lawyer. Listen to a lawyer. Listen to the lawyer. By the way, listen to the lawyer. Tell them and protect yourself. Walking away and serving her may finally wake her up.
Only thing I would say is wake her up to what? To the papers? Maybe wake her up to the fact that this might happen. But he's absolutely right. Go get the DNA test, get a lawyer, and get this process started.
Okay, now for the update. So I found out the results of the DNA test I demanded from my wife, and as many of you suspected, both kids were not mine. I can't begin to describe the turbulence I'm feeling except to barely hold it together as I get ready to tell them goodbye. I already filed for divorce, and as heartbreaking as it is, I honestly feel a relief I can move.
Well, you see, turns out the babies ain't his. I feel for the brother. But it seemed like even just the way he's responding now, that kind of lit up that masculine fire, that alpha mindset that a lot of us go through when we go through this the first time, first or second time. Sometimes you can try the same mindset out of being naive, but it is what it is. It's a part of life. But yeah, let's see how it unfolds now.
Move on finally, to heal myself and hopefully one day find my purpose in life other than being a doormat. She tried begging for forgiveness, but I feel as if forgiveness is earned, not given, just because you apologize. Trust and loyalty is the most important in a relationship. Without it, what are we even doing together then? Thank you again for all the support and advice, everyone. I didn't.
What actions could she show to actually apologize? You have two children that you raised that's not yours. It would take you as the person to forgive on a whole nother level. So I don't really think it ain't no getting out of that at all. But yeah, let's see how this pans out.
Know how else to update this properly, and I apologize for the errors, but I'm hanging out tonight with Jack and Coke. I know it's harsh that I made the choice to not have contact with the kids even though I have raised them since birth, but it does me no good to even be there when my mind is so volatile. As I expected, my family basically cut me out of the will and nice inheritance, and no one wants anything to do with me as they feel, what decent human being would punish the kids? That she apologized.
Well, I know one thing. Like I said, if you're in your early 30s, maybe your parents are in their 50s and 60s or something like that. They still got God willing, they got some years ahead of them. A lot of times as health starts to wane and family becomes more important as you get older, I feel like they'll come around. But like I said, it always comes down to defining yourself and just making sure that you handle your business as a man and you don't need them for anything, because a lot of times, rightfully so, if they're helping you out financially and doing certain things, they have a right to a certain level of say so in what's going on with you. So at the end of the day, it's going to be all good. I can imagine.
I started therapy this week, and the first words out of my therapist's mouth was no one should ever put their mental health last. I think I put enough people who did not deserve it first in my life, and the kids don't deserve that, but again, I feel it's not my concern anymore, other than she keeps saying she's going to put me on child support. Does anyone know how that works, even though I'm not the father? I'm in the unholy state of Texas, for anyone wondering which state I'm in. I also apologize for grammar errors. I'm on mobile, and I did not know how to do a proper update post. I looked everywhere to do it right, but it seems there's not an easy way. Thank you for your time and effort to respond with advice and kind words.
As somebody that's been on child support a good bit of his adult life, I know here in the state I am in, I believe you should be able to get your name off of the birth certificate if you signed it, but child support laws differ not only in the state, but depending on, how counties is broke up, or whether it's like different cities, each city can have their own child support laws and how they go about things. So it's probably better for him to find out the laws in his area. Plus, he has a lawyer, so he'll be able to help him out, figuring out how to go about that. Because it sounds like to me, he's probably not going to be in the children's lives anymore. So he's trying to cut that financial tie to them.
Ask for advice or responses, you're going to get it. First from Harold, the trash panda. Ask your lawyer if you can go after her and AP for paternity fraud. You suffered real damages. Truth Lady 8678 says, God, she's an evil woman. I'd sue her for whatever you can get. She's literally destroyed 3 lives. You absolutely do not need that OP. No one does. You have every right to feel the way you do. Your whole world has just been turned upside down and the life you thought you had was built on lies. It's totally natural to want to move on. People just want to be happy, loved, and respected at the end of the day. I think there are healthy ways to move on and cope with what is happening in your life. The healing process is going to take some time. It's important that you turn inwards right now and enlist in some healthy coping mechanisms. Don't fall down the dark hole that seems enticing, i.e. drinking. It's too easy to practice those strategies. As much as it hurts, we can't numb ourselves to the pain. In order to move on, we have to feel it. Do not go gentle into that good night. What are your thoughts? Give OP some of your best advice in the comments below.
Well, I'll give him some of my best advice. I think it was a fascinating story. I think he's going to be fine. He seems like he got the right mindset, and it's probably going to be the jolt he needed to unlock some of the things that you have in your mind. Because I know when I hit 30, it's like almost like a different chamber in my mind was unlocked. So he's probably around 30 or so, or however old I can't remember. And he's probably looks at life a little bit differently, and that's probably how he came to the conclusion that, the whole cheating aspect. At the end of the day, I think he's gonna be cool, and it was a great story. I know I said that twice, but there's a second part of this video, but I'm gonna cut it here because I can imagine this is probably around 25 minutes or so. So that'll be a whole nother video, and it's another pretty cool story that we can go over. And until next time.
Ask you to fear it. Mandatory, you think about it after you hear it. And it's the evil.